arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I've been gone for a while. I've been gone for a year and a half, and come back to Abhayagiri. Everything's different. There's no more Saturday night, and now it's a Sunday afternoon, and there's a new meditation hall, new kitchen. There was fires that surrounded the monastery, and many people lost their homes on Tomkai Road and Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, so on. And is there anybody here who lost their homes? Who lost their homes here besides Sandra? And nobody else lost their homes. Okay. And it's pretty cold right now, so feeling a bit under the weather. And I'm also feeling like my mind doesn't know which country it's in, because I've been traveling I've been in Thailand, but also in India. And it's like last night doing the chanting, I was chanting in English, but then kept bleeding into Pali. The English kept changing into Pali. So that's where I feel like my mind is right now. I don't know if I should be speaking English or Thai or Pali. And the body kind of doesn't know which time zone it should be in. So I was sitting in Bodh Gaya at the Bodhi tree with Ajahn Naniko, and some of you may have seen the updates from that. And first day we were there is when the fires started in these areas, and it was also very hot there, so we were sitting for 10 hours a day in the heat. Is about 95 degrees every day, and you're just sitting outside. There's a temple, but you're not inside of it, you're just sitting outside. And we were sitting at the north side of the temple, facing south. Bodhi trees kind of on our right, and forward a little bit. And the branches sort of wrap around the temple, so the branches are still over us. And got news that there were these fires happening, and they were creeping closer to Abhayagiri. And I had some access to internet at our guest house. So I was checking the fire maps and seeing this red creeping towards Abhayagiri, and then Abhayagiri was surrounded with red, but it wasn't going in. And so at first I thought, well, it's all impermanent. Just never mind if it burns down. Doesn't matter. But then I thought, oh, but I've done so much work, been a big part of building this monastery. We've done so much work, so many all-day work, sometimes staying up late at night work the last 20 years. It can't hurt to at least try to do something. So just do some chanting and at least do something at the Bodhi tree to dedicate to Abhayagiri. And then there was the good wishes from all over the world, and the monastery didn't burn down. And not only did it not burn down, but when the monks came back here, there wasn't any ash anywhere in the monastery, which was quite unusual. So I guess that would illustrate the power of good wishes. It's like the way we use our minds is very important. And the way we use our mind is if whatever intention we have towards ourselves or others, it has an effect on them depending on the power of our mind, the power of our samadhi. And if we have goodwill for ourselves and others, then we can feel that, others can feel that. If we have ill will for ourselves, for others, then we can feel that and others can feel that. So we're trying to do whatever we can to have a wholesome mental intentions at all times. And it's difficult. It takes training and perseverance. It takes faith to do this kind of thing, to practice. It takes courage, perseverance, to constantly question the mind, question our perceptions, our negativity, and steer it towards positivity. And so I was there with Ajahn Naniko, and he is the first bhikkhu I met here at Abhayagiri. I came here 16 years and 6 months ago. Then he was the guest monk. He had been a monk for 4 years at the time. He's 21 now. And I have a lot of gratitude for Ajahn Naniko. He's a very good monk. Now he has his own monastery, Anandagiri Forest Monastery in Phetchabun, Thailand. And in just 7 years, the monastery is almost completely built, completely finished, very beautiful monastery. He's building a chetty right now. It's his current project. And it's also interesting coming back to America, and that there's a different political climate than there was when I left. And something very unfortunate that I've been seeing is that people have been dividing from each other based on that political climate, and I think it's very unfortunate. Children have been dividing from parents based on political views. Friends have divided from friends based on political views. And it's just views. It's good to ask ourselves what's really changed in our lives. And if it gives rise to negativity, then to not give it attention, not think about it too much. In the Vinaya, there's a few places where the Buddha allowed the relaxing of certain rules if keeping that rule was going to cause disharmony. You can see in many places the Buddha gave utmost importance to harmony and being harmonious with your fellow human beings. And this is always relevant, always important. So that's one thing that was striking to me coming back, is people, families becoming divided over political views, friends becoming divided over political views, and it's not worth it to be divided over a view. So we're always coming back to Dhamma, to unity, positivity, overcoming our negativity against all odds. Have to overcome our negativity, because it's just not something that's gonna be for our best interest or the good interests of others. I'm also kind of in a state right now of not knowing what the future holds. The future is very uncertain. And right now I'm Ajahn Krunadamo, Lungpa, Ajahn Krunadamo, Ajahn Kasapo, Tankachana, Ajahn Sudanto. They've gone together to Thailand. They'll be back January 26th. And although Ajahn Sek is here, he doesn't have the English language yet, so I'm kind of at the helm right now. And I guess if you would have asked me 7 years ago to run the monastery, I would have been excited about it. But kind of like this sense, like, I can finally do it my way. But that's just a disaster. Right now I'm not quite sure what my way is. We just do it according to Dhamma Vinaya. We can kind of have like a cultural thing, like, you know, Buddhism coming to America, sort of like we can start over, we can get back to the pure Dhamma. You know, we can go straight back to the suttas, get back to the pure teachings, the pure Dhamma. But at the same time, I think what's happening now is, what's going to happen is we'll end up coming full circle. What happens to Buddhism in different countries is not just cultural accretions, but it's practices that are useful, that build up over the years and over the generations. For example, Tibet, the yogis and the monks have come up with practices which are useful, and they've passed those down. And so then you have what you have in modern times, a whole conglomeration of different practices and teachings. In Thailand, it's the same. It's not just cultural it's not just Thai cultural accretions. It has to do with practices that the monks and lay people found useful over the years, over the centuries. It has to do with King Rama IV trying to bring Buddhism back, trying to bring the Vinaya back in. It's so many factors. So it's not just what we have in terms of Thai Buddhism. It's not just cultural accretions, but it's also a set of practices which people found useful. So I think we're just going to come full circle here with Buddhism in America. We're going to eventually find what's useful, what's not useful, certain practices and observances that are useful. Those are going to build up over the generations, and then we're going to have something here where it's probably going to be very similar to Thai Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Korean Buddhism. Thank you. So sometimes, like, say if I'm going to give a talk, I kind of try to feel out where the audience is at. And here it's a very different, everybody's in a different, I think everybody's kind of in a different place, so I have to just say general things and not speaking to any one thing specifically. Sometimes when you're just sitting with a group of friends, then it kind of flows out really easily. Sometimes when you're speaking to a bigger group, and not quite sure what would be of benefit to say, I could tell some stories from my time in Thailand, kind of summarize my time there as sort of a general thing to say. In that I left right after the 20th anniversary of Abhayagiri, which we had that ceremony in here, and then also a week after that we had Kondanyo and Jagaro ordained as bhikkhus, and I attended that ordination and then left a few days after that. Getting to Thailand, I guess I was kind of in a similar state to where I'm at right now. Not really knowing where I was going to end up, or what I was exactly going to do. Just sort of feeling it out. It's kind of nice to be in a new situation like that, where you don't really know what's going to happen. So I was in Thailand. I went to Wat Pah Nanachat, and my upatak, my attendant assigned to me, because I'm an Ajahn, so I get an attendant assigned to me, was a novice named Bodhisaro. And I thought, I kind of recognize you. Where do I recognize you from? So in 2014, I had looked after Pacific Hermitage for 3 months for Ajahn Sudanto, who was away for a year on retreat at Birken. So I was at Pacific Hermitage for 3 months, and I would do this once a month, Friday night, Portland Friends of the Dhamma, give a talk in Portland. And you have sort of a Q&A with people as well, and this young man had come up to me asking about meditation, saying he was going to go to India. He's 17 years old, wants to be a monk. So I gave him the 5 precepts and didn't see or hear from him again until this. He was my upatak, so he's now a monk at Wat Nanachat, this particular man. And it's kind of interesting how karma works. So he was assigned as my upatak. I said, oh yeah, you're Nick from Portland. Okay. Then I was really happy to be back in Thailand, so I was joining in with the community, helping out with work and so on. Then I got really sick and was trying just to endure, and was resting, sleeping a lot. Had diarrhea, fever, dehydration, bodily pain, and then it got to a certain point where I was vomiting. I couldn't even keep water down, so I had to go to the hospital. And they put me on an IV, and I had to be on an IV for a whole week. They could never take the IV out, or else my blood pressure would just plummet. So had some sort of mystery illness. Actually, Lungpa Liam said it might have been that I ate some rotten eggs. Because when I first got back, I thought, I'm gonna just eat all the Isan food and get really acclimatized to it, get used to it. And I think I ate some rotten eggs, and because Thais like to eat rotten eggs, and Isan people like to eat rotten eggs, maybe not all Thais. And one of the emergency room nurses thought I ate a poisonous mushroom based on my symptoms. But anyway, I was in the hospital for a week, and what that did was that was very good in terms of connecting with the community, because they had a rotation of novices coming to look after me, and there was a group of 9 novices at Nanachat at that time. And so they would rotate, and when a novice came, I was able to talk and chat with him, get to know him. So I got to know all of these novices. And I decided, I should just stay at Wat Nanachat because I could help train these novices. So I ended up not going anywhere, just staying on at Wat Nanachat. Ended up entering the Rains Retreat there. That was my 14th Rains Retreat. And helping teach Vinaya, helping teach the novices how to be bhikkhus. And it was a really good experience. Things are going well. Was able to hopefully ease Ajahn Kevali's workload a bit. After that, I joined up with Tankovilo and spent the month of December. Well, first my parents visited Thailand. We traveled around, but once they left, beginning of December, then joined up with Tankovilo to follow Longpa Pasano around Bangkok, and got to spend a good chunk of time with him. And so I had a intention going back to Thailand to try to spend more time with Longpa Liam. It turned out that being at Wat Nanachat was the best way to do that because of Ajahn Kevali's close relationship with him, and I was able to join in with Ajahn Kevali several times and get some quality time with Longpa Liam. And then in February, I went to India with Ajahn Kevali and with 9 other Wat Nanachat monks. And we went to the 4 holy sites, visited the 4 holy sites, and that took 2 weeks. It was kind of a whirlwind tour with a bus. And I had the intention that time to meet up with Ajahn Achalo after that trip, because Ajahn Achalo, I knew he was meditating at the Bodhi tree, and he had been there already for that 2 weeks while we were going around to the 4 holy sites. So the Wat Nanachat crew, they returned to Thailand, and I stayed on at the Bodhi tree with Ajahn Achalo for 3 weeks and meditated with him. I believe he was going to accomplish 350 hours in that particular session, 350 hours of sitting. But he had already been there for 2 weeks, so then I determined, well, 3 weeks, what can I do? So I determined to do 227 hours of sitting under the Bodhi tree. And I ended up having a very good experience with that, and ended up sitting 230 hours, and no back pain, no knee pain. It was remarkable, because my left knee was hurting me after I went pilgrimage to the 4 holy sites, and I was a little bit concerned that my left knee was going to give me trouble if I tried to sit for 10 hours a day for 3 weeks. But all the pain disappeared very quickly. And so after that, wow, okay, I did it. I used to be, Ajahn Achalo's done this particular thing about 10 times now, and he would send updates during his previous Bodh Gaya meditation sessions, and I would be super inspired by it, so I always had the idea that I would like to join him in this. So I was super happy that it came to fruition, and I got to actually do this with him, and saw that it was possible, that I could do it. So I guess there is one day during that session which I could talk about, which illustrates Kalyana Mitta, a good friendship, because I was able to sit for 10 hours. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll try 11 hours a few days. So we have essentially we would have, and these aren't continuous, but 5 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the afternoon, because the Bodhi Tree Temple opens at 5 a.m., closes at 9 p.m. We break for lunch. So, and sometimes you get up and go to the bathroom or whatever. But roughly we would be doing 5 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the afternoon. So found if I took less of a rest after the meal, went back earlier, I could do 6 hours in the afternoon. So okay, I'll do 11 hours. Then I thought I want to try to do 12 hours of sitting in a day. So I tried a few days in a row to sit for 12 hours, and I could only get to 11:30, and then it would be closing time, and I couldn't really make it to 12 hours. I think because I had a timer with me that I was actually timing how long I was meditating, and that timer, I would stop the timer if I had to get up and go to the bathroom, stop the timer if somebody offered a drink, have a drink, then restart the timer again, so that the timer is just while sitting meditation. And I thought I can't get to 12 hours. There's something about 12 hours that's different than 11 hours. That's like another bar. Is this 12-hour thing? So I was talking to Ajahn Naniko about it because I knew he had done 12 hours before, and he said, "Okay, we'll do it together." So okay, well, tomorrow we'll do 12 hours. So I think we did longer session in the morning. Like we had a shorter breakfast, and like the meal was more like expedited. So then in the afternoon we start our sitting. We're sitting, and sort of early on it looks like, oh wow, we're going to make it to 12 hours. And so we're sitting there together, and then get to 11 hours. Oh yes, 11 hours, and at 12 hours it's only going to be 8:30. We're going to finish. We're going to do it. So we get to 11 hours and 30 minutes, and it started raining. And so we're kind of looking at each other, and then Ajahn Naniko was like, "Mara," and then he said, "We're too close. We can't stop." So it wasn't raining hard, but it was raining lightly, and everybody fled. So normally there's people circumambulating the Bodhi tree, the Bodhi temple. Normally there's lots of chanting going on. Everybody fled and sought cover, so it was just the two of us there. And Meichi Amy may have been there too. There may have been but she had rain gear. She came prepared. So we're sitting there, and then the farthest I had gotten previously was about 11 hours and 40 minutes. I hadn't made it past 11 hours and 40 minutes. So then I'm kind of like glancing at my timer as it's raining, and it gets to 11 hours and 40 minutes, and then it just started raining like harder, and just like a consistent rain. So we just sat there and just got wet, and then it's like okay, let's just sit here in the rain. And it was a very good experience because it's like thought about the time of the Buddha, how the Buddha sat in the rain, and it was very, very quiet, nobody around. So that's what it would have been like at the Bodhi tree in the time of the Buddha. So we got to 12 hours, and literally, like the second we got to 12 hours, the rain stopped, and we congratulated each other, and we did it. We hugged. We did it. Yeah. I think that experience illustrates how you can support each other in the practice. So after we finished that particular meditation session, I meditated for 230 hours. Ajahn Naniko, his personal determination is to get to 3,000 hours under the Bodhi tree, and he had gotten to 2,200 at the end of that session. So he said, "You should just do 1,000." So he suggested that, then I thought, well, I'll have to go back with you a couple more times to achieve that. And so I made this plan, thinking I would be in Thailand for 2 years, which was my original plan. It's quite easy to have a flight from Bangkok directly to Bodh Gaya. It's only a 15-minute tuk-tuk ride to the Bodhi tree from the airport. So we made that plan, and so then I was not sure if I was going to stay at Wat Nanachat for my 15th rains retreat or go into solitude. I had an invitation to go into solitude. And so this monk, Ajahn Sangwan, he's been teaching monk craft at Wat Nanachat, such as hand sewing and bowl stand making and crochet and all these things the monks do. And he has a kuti that he stays in the north of Thailand where he goes for a retreat. So he was not going to be there that rains retreat, so he invited me to go if I wanted to. So I took him up on that, and I had never been completely alone for an entire rains retreat before, with just being in a kuti, going alms around, and then going back, eating, and just having the day completely to myself. So I wanted to get that kind of experience, and that ended up going well. It was a secluded kuti in a pine forest in a province called Nan. It's east of Chiang Mai. And there was there's a pine forest up at 4,000 feet. Cool temperatures, very, very nice. About 70 degrees day and night for the whole rains retreat. Never really changed. And that was also good to have that time to take what I learned in Bodh Gaya before and to apply it to practicing on my own. There was lots of leeches there. I've never seen so many leeches. Anytime I left the kuti, I got leeches on my feet, and I would have to flick them off when I got back into my kuti. So that was a good experience, being on my own. Then got a ride 6 hours to Ajahn Naniko's monastery from there after the rains, and had an early katina at Anandagiri, and then went straight back to India. So that was October 10th that we went to India again. I think the fires started on October 8th or 9th or something, because I got news about the fires from Ajahn Boom. Well, everybody's online with each other on this Line app in Thailand. So based on a Line message that one monk had sent to one of these laywomen who saw us at the airport, said the Abhayagiri monks had evacuated to City of 10,000 Buddhas. So I started checking in. So yeah, October 10th, went back. And this particular session, the determination that I'm going to be there with Ajahn Naniko the whole time. We're going to do 400 hours. And by this time, I had Lungpa Pasano had invited me back to Abhayagiri. And so there's one more session that has to take place, and that's this coming February and March, February 4th to March 26th. And so because I originally planned on going from Thailand when I made that plan, but then I came back here. So I asked Lungpa Pasano if it was okay if I went from here to India. So I'll be doing a mid-winter retreat India session as well, where I go directly to India from here and directly back here. But I'll have about a week overlap with Longpa Pasano when he gets back, January 26th.